Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're heading back in time, quite a way back actually, to ancient Visalia.
Specifically to the Mahavana monastery there.
Right.
A really significant place.
Right. And our mission, if you like, is to look at this seemingly tiny monastic rule. I mean, it's about a mat.
Just a mat, yeah. It sounds simple.
It does, but it actually reveals some, well, pretty profound things about early Buddhist discipline, how the monks were perceived.
Absolutely. It's all tied up with this group, the Chabbaggiya bhikkhu.
Ah, yes, the group of 6. Always seem to be at the center of things when rules get tested.
They definitely knew how to push boundaries. So this time it was about their choice of floor cover.
Exactly. So let's set the scene. We're in this place, the Karai Sala, a gabled hall.
That's the one. Within the monastery grounds.
And there they are, the Chabbaggiya bhikkhu, and they're making something called a santhata.
Right.
And the key detail, it's made from pure black sheep wool. Now, okay, santhata, what exactly is that? It sounds straightforward, but maybe isn't.
Well, yeah, the texts are quite specific. A santhata means something spread out. But crucially, it's described as not woven.
Oh, okay, so not like a typical rug or mat we might think of.
Probably more like a piece of felt or maybe a thick pressed wool pad, something quite plush, potentially.
And the wool being pure black was also important?
Yes. The text even distinguishes it could be Jethiakoka, so naturally black wool, or Rajnakaka, which means dyed black.
Interesting they made that distinction. So already, just in the description, pure black, non-woven wool, it hints at something maybe a bit luxurious.
It certainly points that way. Not your standard rough-spun item.
Okay, so they're making these things, and people notice. The sources say, Manusa Vihartakaraka Hienta, basically lay people just walking around the monastery grounds.
Right. Visitors or supporters passing through.
They saw what was going on, and while they weren't impressed, they were openly critical.
And it wasn't just the lay people.
No, exactly. Even other monks, the ones described as Apicha Bhikkhu monks of few desires, the more austere ones, they also started criticizing them.
They saw it as problematic too.
And the main complaint, certainly from the public, was that these monks were acting like Gihikama Buccino.
Like householders enjoying sensual pleasures.
Yeah. Which sounds like a pretty serious accusation. Why was that the comparison? What was so wrong with a nice mat?
Well, it cuts right to the heart of the monastic ideal, doesn't it? Monks were supposed to represent renunciation, simplicity, living lightly.
Right. Detachment from material comforts.
Exactly. So to be seen making and presumably using something that looked, well, comfortable, luxurious, this thick black wool mat, it clashed completely with that image.
It looked like indulgence.
Precisely, like they were prioritizing comfort over their vows. And for the lay community, who supported the monks through donations and alms.
They'd see it as, what, a misuse of their support, a betrayal of trust.
Something like that. It undermined the respect the whole monastic order relied on. Public perception was, and is, incredibly important.
Okay, so this criticism is bubbling up. Lay people, other monks, and eventually word gets back to the Buddha.
As it often did when these sorts of disputes arose, especially involving the Chabbaggi.
And his reaction?
He wasn't pleased. The texts say he rebuked the Chabbaggiya bhikkhu directly for their actions.
And then, crucially, a new rule was laid down because of this specific incident.
Yes, a very clear Vinaya rule. It states that if a monk makes a santhata from pure black sheep wool.
Like the ones they were making?
Exactly like those. It constitutes an offense called Nissaggiya.
Okay, Nissaggiya. What does that mean in practice? Is it just a warning?
Oh no, it's much more serious than that. Nissaggiya means it entails forfeiture.
Forfeiture. So they lose the mat.
Immediately. The item itself has to be given up, confiscated. And pasityan means it requires expiation. The monk has to formally confess the offense and undergo a process to become pure again.
Wow, so it's not just don't do that again. It's confiscation and a formal atonement process.
Definitely. It's a significant breach of discipline. The severity really underlines how important this seemingly small detail, the material and color of a mat, was considered to be.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it, that something so specific could lead to such a serious rule. What does this tell us, about the bigger picture of early monastic life?
I think it shows the incredible meticulousness of the discipline. They were really trying to shape every aspect of behavior.
And maintain this very specific balance, maybe, between, Basic needs, monks do need something to sit or sleep on, and the overriding spiritual goal of non-attachment.
Exactly that. It's a constant negotiation.
Yeah.
And it also highlights how finely tuned they were to public perception. How monks appeared to the lay community mattered immensely.
It wasn't just an internal affair. Their legitimacy depended on upholding those ideals
Sure.
visibly.
Precisely so.
So yeah, a pure black wool mat. A group of boundary-pushing monks. And a rule that, when you unpack it, tells you a huge amount about the foundations of monastic life, about values, perception. It's fascinating.
It really is. You find such unexpected depth in these very specific regulations.
So that really brings us to the end of this deep dive, from a simple mat to some quite complex ideas about discipline and image.
And maybe a thought to leave you with. Think about how rules work in any community, even today. These precise regulations, whether ancient or modern, they aren't just about compliance.
They reflect something deeper.
Yeah. They reflect and reinforce the core values. They maintain integrity, shape how the group is seen. So if a monastic order worried about a mass color, maybe we should ask ourselves, what are the seemingly small details in our own communities or organizations that actually say a lot about what we truly stand for? Where are our black mats?